On today's starting nine, Jake and Carl sit down with Cubs top prospect Matt Mervis to talk about his crazy journey in baseball and why people are saying he is the next big thing in the National League. Before and after that, we talk about the Arizona Fall League, how to pick out an engagement ring, a big signing in the city of Chicago, some personal stories, a bunch of other stuff. I'm sick. Jake's healthy. We're coming off a great Thanksgiving. Let's have a better starting nine. Action! And welcome back to Starting Nine. Carl here in Chicago. Jake, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Avoided sickness. It was around 20 snotty-nosed kids. We had a blast though. We hosted a couple days. We went to my best friend's sister-in-law's house and brother-in-law's in Dripping Springs for Thanksgiving proper. They wanted to host. We had a blast. Watched a ton of football. Man, TCU rolled Iowa State. I watched a lot of more football in over the last 3 days than I think I've ever watched in my entire life. And a big part of that is because Cooper's so into it now and we watch it together. And, you know, after you eat for the second or third time, all you want to do is lay on the couch with a cocktail, watch football. And we had perfect Thanksgiving weather. It was kind of overcast, a little chilly. So not much going on outside until like Friday and Saturday. Then the sun came out and we got to be outdoors. And my golf simulator's done now, completely done. So we've been wearing wearing that screen out. So we've had a nice 4 or 5 days. Everybody was well fed. We hardly got any sleep, but that's expected, especially when my friends come in town. I haven't seen them in a while. Like I'm kind of a dick for it, but I'll keep them up super, super late, later than they want to stay up. But it's what they expect when they come to my house.
Yeah, a lot of places I could take this conversation. I know for a fact that you do not like to. You're always just like when you're out, you're just like, all right, what are we doing next? And it's not that you are a guy that wants to stay out till the sunrise. I just think you're a guy who gets into a situation and you're just like, what's up next? Like, what are we doing next?
Yeah, I get to having too much fun. And everybody has families now with kids. It's harder to spend time together, especially with friends that are from out of town. So when you see them, it's like, man, I'm just having a great time. Don't want you to go to bed. And my best friend has 2 young kids. He has a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and they're up at 6 o'clock. And 2 nights, I think it was Thursday night and Friday night, I had them up until 4:30. I felt bad about it, but we're hitting on the sim and we're just, we're bouncing around the house and doing this and doing that. And he's like, "What time is it?" We're like on like the 8th or 9th hole. I'm like, "Man, it's almost 4 o'clock." I'm like, "A couple more holes, two more holes, no problem." The poor guy goes to bed around 4:30 and was up at 6 with his kids, and he looked great. He's got a beautiful head of hair. He doesn't have any bags under his eyes. He already had a cup of coffee going. I got up at 8, so I got a couple more hours of sleep. So Andrew, I'm sorry that I did that to you, but we had a good time.
Yeah, good to hear from you, Andrew. The simulator. I don't have a simulator yet. Listen, want to welcome everybody back from a long Thanksgiving break. As I said at the top of the show, we're going to be joined by Matt Mervis in a minute. Not a minute. Unless
Here in a few.
In a few.
Unless he wants to jump on early with us.
Here's a nugget. I think there's only two players. I don't know if this is in the Cubs system or minor leagues in general, but not a lot of people have hit over 300 with 35 jacks and 100 RBIs in a full minor league season. I think the list is very fucking thin, and he's just coming off of it. Great kid, nice kid. I want to get him introduced to people before he gets to the big leagues. I thought that'd be a nice touch.
No, and he has a very it's out of the ordinary, the path that he has taken. And he was, one of many, players that was affected by COVID and what limited, players' ability to showcase, their talent to major league teams. So a tough path for him, but like you just mentioned, like what he was able to do across 3 levels in the minor leagues is just incredible. The amount of power, the consistency with average and timely hitting, driving in runs, and that was from what was it? High A, Double A, and Triple A was that season that we're talking about, I believe.
Yeah, first, technically a second season in minor leagues, but yeah, so 3 stops: High A, Double A, Triple A. They just fucking raked, and the AFL this year. Which
yeah, and what
I said to ask him about that. Did you play in the Arizona Fall League?
I played? Yeah, I did, and I played for the Phoenix Desert Dogs. I was drafted '07, signed late. And remember, I mentioned to you, it might have been the last show. Matt Wieters and I traveled with the short season Aberdeen team because we ended up not playing with an affiliated team. Traveled with them for a couple weeks, and I just threw bullpens, and Wieters hit BP and did some stuff on the side with with the position guys, and then I went to the fall league. So that was basically my first experience with professional baseball, and I threw 16 innings out of the bullpen. I didn't because they wanted to monitor my innings, just give me some experience out there, and it was great. We won the league that year. I played in the Rising Stars game, I think it was for the fall league, and pitched really well. I threw 16 scoreless. So I'm like, hey, this pro ball thing isn't so difficult.
It's an interesting league to me, the Arizona Fall League. I can't remember what the exact rules are, but what teams just send their best prospects or their most promising players, or what is it?
It's a mixed
of guys,
bag.
and then
And
then everybody goes to the same location. You guys just play against each other.
So, yeah, it was very. It was a very diverse group, really. Like you had some players like myself who were very new to the system, to pro ball, and you had guys that some guys that were in the minor leagues for a couple seasons and like ready to have an opportunity to make the big league club in the spring training, in the upcoming spring training, and then you had guys that were kind of the in between. Like, hey, we need to figure out like where this guy stacks up. Like, does he fit into our plans? We need to see him get some more at bats. Maybe there was an injury throughout the season and he wasn't able to finish strong, so they wanted to just get him some more plate appearances or some more innings under his belt. So we had guys that were we had a couple like myself. It was the Pirates, the White Sox, the Orioles. It might have been the Indians. I might get this wrong, but like Andrew McCutcheon was on my team. It was Minnesota Twins also because I played with Trevor Plouffe. So yeah, some big prospects, some kind of journeymen that needed some more bats, some guys that had some injuries. So yeah, there was guys from all over the spectrum, but a really fun league to play in, and a great way to, in a great environment to kind of put your skills up against some of the best young players in the game of baseball.
To me, it's one of those feathers in your cap as you're kind of climbing up, where it's like, well, did he do it in the AFL? Because people, Double A, Triple A, well, the thing about stuff, and it's so easy to like diminish something, and it's so easy to build something up and make it bigger than what it is. Especially fucking minor league baseball players. You see what this guy did. So the AFL is just like a nice, like as you're talking about, getting these different players from different organizations, because it is this part of pro ball is like, hey, yeah, you don't play with these fucking guys. You don't even have to know that guy's name. But that guy better be where he's supposed to fucking be when you expect him to be there. And it's cool to go out just for a couple, after spending a whole fucking season riding buses and stuff, getting a little fall taste of Scottsdale. Hey, let's go out in Old Town for a little bit. Let's go to Bottle Blonde or something. Or Barstool Scottsdale, I should say. Barstool Scottsdale just opened. If you're in the Scottsdale area, good cover from my end there. But yeah, the new Barstool Scottsdale bar just opened. But my broader point.
No, you're right. You kind of you almost feel, it kind of feels big league-ish, in playing in the AFL. Just being surrounded, like I was not that I was like starstruck, but I'm like, okay, like a lot of these guys have big league experience. A lot of them are like rising stars in the game. Like I'm just like this new dude. Like I just kind of played it like a rookie. I'm gonna like blend in. I'm gonna go about my business and let my ability speak for itself, and embrace the role that they gave me. Like I didn't really have much of a choice, or like, hey, we want you to go here. You're gonna throw out of the pen. You had a bunch of college innings. And that's what I did, and it was an absolute blast. We enjoyed ourselves. We had like an off day at some point. We took a quick trip to Vegas. We spent a lot of time like Casino Arizona out there, and Talking Sticks. But we took care of business. We played golf. It was fun for me. It was really, really fun for me, and it was right before I got engaged. So like Brittany was out there with me a lot. I remember trying to pick out diamonds, like what's the right one for her. A lot of pressure, by the way. If anybody listening is kind of in the market for like an engagement ring, I feel for you, because it's hard. Like I would recommend that you get as close to like the exact ring that she wants. Like get that information from her as much as you can, because if you're just trying to wing it, it's near impossible to get it right.
No, I wung it. I mean,
well, and you probably nailed it. I'm saying it's not easy though.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't. I knew enough big picture things. I don't like it too big. That's gaudy. Thankfully, Mrs. Carl was very tasteful with jewelry, and which is like a guy's way of saying that she doesn't want any of the big shit. Still a nice ring, clean cut diamond. I went that path. I was if my engagement ring was a starting pitcher, it would throw 90 with impeccable command, repeatable delivery type of mechanics that play in any type of environment. Just a really solid, clean looking. But you're not gonna go home and tell your fucking grandkids you went out and you saw my engagement ring pitch, but it's solid.
I understand.
I'm proud of the work I did.
You should be.
But now here's the thing: do you have to add to your see? Here we go again. I'm just interested in this.
No, I like.
One
It's
day
a good
I'm
question.
gonna be super fucking rich, and I want to know.
And you're gonna have to upgrade
add
her.
to Mrs. Carl's? Yeah. What's protocol?
Well, that's up to both of you guys, but I did. She had her first engagement ring up until from like 2007 to let's say 2015. So not all that 2016. We had talked about it, and she's like, how do you feel about looking for a new stone? I'm like, yeah, you deserve it. You put up with my shit for this long. Like, it's the least I could do is spend a little bit of money on a new diamond for you. So we went that route. We used the same guy, and the process was fun. Like the guy that we used, he would like go to, I don't even know the exact locations, but he was like meeting these diamond dealers in like back rooms and buying them out of like these little velvet bags, like stuff you would imagine like seeing in a movie. So, and he flew to me both times, and he would like dump these diamonds onto like this little like padded tray, and we'd look at them through little magnifying glasses and shit. Which, if you're worried about like internal flaws in a diamond, like that you can only see with a magnifying glass, like I think you're doing it wrong, because let's face it, just with the naked eye, I mean, most diamonds look good unless you're getting, like the bottom, super bottom end, and they're still diamonds, but you can't see any inclusions or whatever you call them, unless you have them under a microscope. So, we didn't go, you don't have to do the frickin' flawless diamonds and the perfect cut or clarity, whatever. Like go in the middle, like meet in the middle, because they're still good. And you're going to save yourself a ton of money, as we did, because we went with a pretty large stone, but we went kind of mid-range. And it looks flawless to the naked eye, and that's, if someone's grabbing your finger and checking it out with a microscope, like, they can fuck off.
Well, I think guys too get nervous because it's like, oh, did you see what he got and this and that and whatever. I do want to make a point to Texas. Geographically, that's a place where people have to have big stuff and visible, and I don't think that's just the way the culture is. Like if I'm a girl in Texas, I'm a pretty girl. What's up? I'm Carlito or Carlita. Come say what's up. I'm definitely like trying to be a Texas girl. That means something, I think, differently. Based on my experiences hanging out in Texas, just watching these women walk around. It's a competitive environment out there. It's like National Geographic, the fucking gazelle, and lurking behind them are the Do you watch that shit? Are you into like animal?
Oh man, more than just about anything. I love the Planet Earth stuff. I love the Nat Geo. I'm a big fan of. There's an account on Instagram called Nature is Metal, and it just kind of it's putting on display like how how dangerous it is outside of our world, like the ecosystems and the like the totem pole, so to speak, like the apex predators that are out there. Like we're very fragile, and if you get like mixed in the wrong area around some of these beasts of animals, like it's a dangerous world. So I mean, some of my favorite ones are like like jaguars pulling crocodiles, pulling crocodiles out of like rivers and stuff, like in Africa or wherever it's happening. And you see like lions like carrying full size like wildebeest and deer, like just climbing them up a tree in their mouth. Like I don't know if you've ever seen that. So it's terrifying, but it's informative. Like that's the kind of world that those animals are living in, and just tread lightly. Like if you decide to kind of venture into an African safari or into the jungle in the rainforest, be careful. There's some shit out there that will kill you.
Hey, good time to shout out the African Cape buffalo. That's a very underrated safari beast, and I want to draw attention to it. I also want to draw attention to our good friends at Roman. If you guys want a better sex life, if so, you guys are not alone. Up to 50% of men have symptoms that get in the way of wanting or enjoying sex. But Roman is here to help. Roman is the digital health clinic for men, addressing a variety of sexual needs for men. Roman offers genuine medication that helps achieve and maintain a strong erection. That's good. Listen, guys, if you're going to get a boner, might as well make it a stiff one. Roman offers discreet wipes that help you last 4 times longer in bed. So those are stronger boners. They last longer. Roman offers testosterone test. If it's appropriate for you, treatment for low testosterone. So more frequent boners. So stronger, that last longer, and they're going to happen more often. In men with low T, getting testosterone levels back to normal can help increase your libido. Libido is one of those words. I don't know if it's a physical, if you can measure how much libido. I don't know if I can count it or see it. But if it's sperm count, I'm sure that, probably shouldn't be attesting to how the density of your sperm. I will say this though, at Roman, there's no waiting rooms and no hassle. It's just straightforward digital experience from the comfort of home. Get those fucking boners working at home, guys. You don't even have to leave the house. You could be sitting in the basement right now working on bigger, stronger, more frequent, longer lasting boners. If medication or testing is appropriate, Roman will send it directly to your door. Everything arrives in discreet packaging with free 2-day shipping. To learn more about how you can achieve your personal sexual health goals, go to ro.co/starting today to get 20% off your entire first order. Go to ro.co/starting. Get 20% off your entire first order. That's ro.co/starting. Roman. All your boner needs. Works too. I mean, we don't need to sit here and do any more personal testimonials.
No, yeah.
But
I think everyone that's tried them knows they work.
I've never heard anyone try them and say anything other than, holy fuck, that's great. And then I don't know. I'm not a science guy. You get in trouble once you start talking about science. If I start talking about my experiences and comparing it, like now we're talking about lawsuits and stuff.
Yeah, you got to be careful there.
About this. Yeah, science it's a different fucking beast. Okay, no baseball news. Some baseball news.
Yeah,
very small baseball news.
Just a little bit. I saw that.
Not a lot.
Yeah. Saw that Clevenger signed a 1-year deal with the White Sox, which I like that sign. I like that sign for a lot of reasons. I got to spend a little bit of time with him in San Diego. He was rehabbing. Different guy, which I like. I love that. I like his mentality. I mean, he works extremely hard. He thinks about things a little bit differently, but he works hard at his craft, and he's looking to rebound. I like this signing for both sides. It's not a huge financial commitment for the White Sox, and there's a lot of upside there. So if if things don't go very well, it's a 1-year 8. And if they do, the White Sox look pretty genius for the signing. They need pitching. And, like with Kopech, he hasn't, I don't know if he's pitched a season completely healthy yet from start to finish. He's not necessarily that 200 inning a year type guy yet. But he just off of his size and his stuff and his physicality, he should be. And you pair that with Clevenger and Dylan Cease, they've got the makings of a pretty strong rotation.
Yeah, I think it's a good culture too. Like before we get to stuff or this guy match up like Lance Lynn, that's allegedly a great teammate. Everything you hear great shit about him. Lucas Giolito is like a fucking nerd behind the scenes. Just loves the profession and getting better and immersing himself in like new advanced stuff. Lucas Giolito is a very interesting person from my perspective, and I think that's somebody that can really like. I'm not saying like, hey, these guys are gonna be best friends or whatever, but if you're looking for a bounce back, you want to have like a good mix of those guys you'd be working around. So him getting to walk in and be like, all right, well, here's Giolito, who at one point was quite literally the worst starting pitcher in baseball in 2016. He was, I repeat, the worst starting pitcher in baseball in 2016 or 17, his first full season in the big leagues. He had like a 6.5 ERA. And then he went through all these changes. His high school coach that helped him with these changes is now their pitching coach, Ethan Katz. So from like a culture standpoint, again, then you have Cease, who's obviously elite. So you can feed off. There's just a lot of different things for Clevenger to feed off. And he's familiar with the division. I'm interested when you say he's like a unique guy or like, is he like in a punk rock or like, does he lift hard? He strikes me as the type of guy who like would walk into the gym and Converse All-Stars and like cut off something and just like crush some leg press. And just like, you wouldn't know he was a baseball player. You would just think this is a guy who just wants to like pump iron. I feel like he's a psycho.
No, he works with, I wouldn't say he lifts hard. He doesn't go crazy heavy. I mean, there's not a ton of guys, at least in season. You don't see a lot of guys, squatting 405 or, pushing around a ton of weight, especially rehabbing or kind of in between starts. It's more of an off-season thing, but I've seen some stuff on him where he gets after it pretty heavily in the off-season. I think that he is a barefoot guy like myself. I like to work out barefoot, much more connected to the ground, being able to use your feet more. So yeah, he's a cutoff guy, usually a tie-dye cutoff, barefoot, very in tune with his body, and he's got a unique delivery, which makes perfect sense for the type of guy he is. So yeah, he's a weirdo, but I am too.
No, almost all you guys are weird. We're all fucking weird. Who cares? So it's a good signing for the White Sox. Yeah, he'll fit in. And then 1 year, $8 million. Classic White Sox signing, too. It's like, yeah, we would have loved to have this guy a couple of years ago when he was at the top of his stuff. He's rebounding here, looking for some value. They also, though, White Sox, very high payroll last year. And they were over $200 million last year. So I don't like the accusations that the White Sox are cheap. I do think it's fair to say they don't go after big free agents, and that this is a very classic free agent signing for the White Sox. But
well, again, they're going to have quite a bit of salary coming off the books, are they not? Or how much? Because
Abreu's like
like
$18 million.
Okay.
If they get rid of Liam Hendricks, it's like another $15 million there.
Okay, so not astronomical, but they have some they got some money to play with.
Yeah, their thing is they've got $10 million here, they've got $15 million there, they got $12 million here, they got Moncada's $24 million, $25 million. I think it's 2024.
It's crazy. He's already making that kind. Yeah, I mean that's.
He was he looked so good that they had to sign him to an extension because it was like this guy's gonna crush us in arbitration if he's an MVP candidate.
Right.
So I also want to go back to the Guardians. Guardians, I think, had the 27th or 28th highest payroll in baseball. You could also say like the fucking third or fourth lowest this year. which is disappointing when you consider the fact that the Guardians are like consistently a good organization, and they have arguably the best manager of my lifetime in baseball running that club, and they will never give them more than like the fucking bottom of the barrel to play with. Now, that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is how good are the Guardians that trade Clevenger gets like they literally got, I'm going to read it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players, one of which is Josh Naylor, Cale Quantrill, Owen Miller, Austin Hedges. These guys all play meaningful innings.
Yeah, that was a hell of a trade. And and kind of staying with the Guardians, it's got to frustrate the hell out of teams when you see a roster with the payroll as low as it is, and they win more games than you do. It's like, fuck, these guys are finding a way to construct a team with as low of a payroll that they have, with a roster as young as they are too, and we can't beat these guys.
How much of an element is there of like, who the fuck are these guys? Like when after the Cubs, or at what point, like when you're at that point in your career where you're established and you're like, yeah, we're good, we fucking won the division. Like, would you ever be on a big league field, or are you guys talking to the dugout or something? You see like, another team. I'm not, it's like, look at these fucking guys. What is going on over there? Or is it for the most part? Because to me, the reason I ask is because we talk about now this Guardians team. I would imagine in like May, they go into Yankee Stadium or something. The Yankees are like, who the fuck is this kid?
Yeah, I mean, it happens.
This guy doesn't wear batting gloves.
It happens when, like, a lot of times when guys come up to the big leagues for the first time. I remember when, like, Rhys Hoskins came up, and before we played against him, you just see him hit homer after homer after homer, and you're like, like you just said, like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, come on, like, and then you see him in person, and I think he hit 2 home runs against us in the series that we played him. In Philly, I think one was off Hendricks and maybe a reliever in one of the other games. Like, this kid, he looks for real. And then kind of in a different way when, say, you play a team like the Guardians, or I think that's probably the best example of a successful team with low payroll. Maybe Tampa, but it's the same deal. It's like you maybe question the team, or like kind of doubt them, but then you see them play, especially against your club, and you're like, all right, like they are legit. They're for real. Like it's not just smoke and mirrors. These guys can actually play. And I'm not convinced that the whole Moneyball thing works. Like I think long term, I don't really think it does. But there's an argument.
When we say
Moneyball
for
it.
thing,
Well, it's just like constructing a team based on combining on-base percentage and average and all this shit, and trying to find guys, a unique group of guys that can do that you can put together that end up translating into a winning team. But I think long term it's not going to play out. It's so much harder to do, I think, than people think. And that's why there's only a couple that have had any success with it.
Well, I also think it's like it's all leveled out. Like the reason Moneyball was so successful, and go back to like Earl Weaver in the 70s with his note card being like, well, I have a righty that crushes left-handed pitching. People are like, what? What do you mean? He's like, I have righties on my bench that mash lefties. How do you know that? He's like, because I'm fucking sitting here writing it down, you idiots. And that, to me, there's probably people before that, but that's like the landmark guy and fucking part of baseball strategy where things start to turn a lot. Platooning people and matchups and shit. Or you could think of like another good example would be Bruce. Is it Bruce Sutter? Bruce Sutter. Fuck it. The splitter. Nobody was throwing split. So when he gets in there and he's throwing a split, everybody's trying to catch up. Well, now the split, everybody's got a fucking split now. Point is, to me, the concept of sabermetrics and analytics and finding these like competitive advantages, like, yeah, it's definitely gone because everybody's looking at it the same way. Like the A's definitely had an advantage for a couple of years.
Right. There's no more secrets anymore.
Right. Like, hey, guess what? Like now the secrets are so deeply measured of like biometric and route efficiency for outfielders. Like, yeah, like, oh, how clean does he go and catch that ball? And or we talked to Kevin Gossman this year, like wake seam shifted
Shifted
wake
wake.
seam.
Yeah. I think maybe one of the proprietary secrets is, I think a good example is Jeremy Pena, like being able to find guys like that. That, I don't know if they expected him to turn into the guy that he has, like, or at least this quickly. But like with all the numbers and the, how everything's measured and players are evaluated, there's not many secrets there. But it's like, I guess it's more in the development and kind of seeing something that somebody else misses. Maybe there's still an art to that. There's still an art to scouting, and some do it a lot better than others. But with like technology and social media, like all the good players out there, and I mean, one might get missed, but it's like all the talent will be seen. And I look at Cooper now, who's 11, all of their stats, and all of their highlights and their videos are all posted on these websites and these programs to where like coaches and everybody scouts have access to it. And like in football, it's called, I think the app is called Huddle or No Huddle or something like that. And there's college scouts already watching kids that are 11 and 12 years old. So like it's happening from such a young age now. It blows my mind.
There's just so much money behind it. You get a kid young, you figure him out, you get a relationship, you're a handler, you understand, hey, I'll help you out with the recruiting stuff. The baseball thing to me is going back full circle where scouting is going to be super important to the point that teams are like gutting their scouting departments. And what they did during COVID when teams had an opportunity to get rid of some staff and tighten things up, well, that's because a lot of front offices have migrated towards data analytics and building up a centralized office that can, process information on a large scale as opposed to the guys on the ground. Hey, call fucking Joe, see what he says. He's in South Florida. He just saw those 10 players this past week. We need a better understanding of it. Like, no, you're right. We have the data, we've got the statistics, we get the video on these kids. So now teams have moved away from having people out in the field, and I think you're going to continue to see that restrict. And then one team is going to be like, change it up and be like, we went heavy into having, we doubled down on our scouting resources, or we put way more into the early low levels of identifying player talent or something like that. And there can come back to this competitive advantage of teams that use that information the best. What a sound to make. I'm fucking sick as a dog.
That's all right.
My point is,
I know you don't feel great.
I don't. But I wanted to work in a front office so bad when I was in college. Like when you're out there playing for TCU, being like, well, I want to go to the big leagues. I'm out playing for Illinois, being like, man, I'd make some great trades if I was ever in a position to do that. And part of the reason that I lost that fucking touch and zest and like, man, I would love to have an impactful life in baseball was I thought it all passed me by. I thought it was all going back towards Sloan MIT School of Conference and Analytics and just like, yeah, I'm smart. I can hang. I'm a certified public accountant. I'm not bashful about that. But statistically and forecasting stuff is like, no, that's not a strength at all. And now I do think in the next couple of years, like we're going to get back to this. It is going to be people skills. It's going to be soft skills. It's going to be the subjective element because everybody's doing the same fucking shit. Everybody's hiring I'm going to hire your assistant GM. You're going to hire my data analytics guy. We're going to go get this kid. Like, then we're all going to meet at the end of the year and all share our fucking ideas. 5-10 years from now, like, how much more crunching can we get out of baseball?
I think one of the most valuable developmental skills to have is working on like character building. And like if you find somebody who has talent, that's part of it. But then, instilling like discipline, and you shouldn't have to instill work ethic, but like motivation is something that for me comes and goes. Like discipline is 24/7. Like whether you're motivated to do something or not, you do it because you know you have to, and you have a responsibility to uphold for yourself and your team and the people around you. So I think, and a lot of teams are working on that, like how to how to turn these young, talented, like skilled players, on the field to high character like human beings, fathers and husbands, and things like that. So I think, if I was involved in a team in a decision making capacity, that's kind of where I would put a lot of my focus. And especially at like the lower levels when you're bringing in kids, let's say internationally, who are like culture shocked and maybe their skill set takes a dip because they're just so out of their comfort zone that their skill set can't translate because there's so many other things that they're dealing with before they get to the field to kind of prepare and to perform. So I would put so many of my resources into that. Like bringing in people, like having one or two people on staff full time that are just there as a resource for these kids to talk to. But also not force it, because I've seen things like that forced. Like, okay, in spring training, 3 days a week, you have to sit down with the mental skills coach and have a 30-minute meeting. Like sometimes that's off-putting. A lot of kids will shy away from that. I think, and especially if that person cannot relate to these players from a baseball perspective. Like, if I've seen mental skills coaches that had no experience in the game of baseball, and when someone is trying to kind of tell you how to develop your routine and how to help you perform at a high level when they never played or never even spent time around the game, like it's difficult. It's like if you have a personal trainer who's 50 pounds overweight and they're telling you how to eat right and how to train. Like, it's just hard to buy into that. So, I'm not saying like me, like I like doing this kind of stuff. I work with a lot of college kids and professional kids on the mindset and how to be mentally tough, but also how to carry yourself in day-to-day life when you're away from the field. So, like I'd like to see more of these teams bring in former players that have high character, that also performed at a high level, that went through adversity, that had periods of elite success, and just have them around as resources. But don't make it something that, like, okay, you have to talk to this guy at this time every single day, because the more you force it, the less guys tend to like to use it.
I've learned a lot about the relationship between players and organizations over the last year, and I'm just surprised that, like, you bring that up and it's like, man, that sounds like a good idea to have former players around, and why not? And it's like, because you can't control them, and organizations want to have control over, like, what's in front of them. There's, like, no threat. There's nothing like Tom Ricketts, great, okay. So Tom Ricketts brings, like, Kerry Wood back, walking around. Like, what the fuck's Tom Ricketts going to tell Kerry Wood? Or, like, how does that organization work? It's like that. Now, that's what I'm saying. You have to have such high character guys around because – in a sense, it's like, all right, well, do they represent the organization?
Right. Well, that's a meeting.
Help us win games, or is it because it's convenient and you like being around the team? Like, we're here to fucking win here.
Right. Well, say if I were to, become a part of the Cubs in any capacity, I would obviously have a meeting with Hoyer and with Ricketts and with David Ross, and kind of express my desire to do certain things with the organization. And they would say their piece, I would say mine, and we would come to an understanding that this is what's expected, this is what we would like you to do, and if everything's put out on the table and you understand what's expected of you, then and you agree to it, then that's what you do. But I loved when I'd see former players with teams in spring training in uniform, just kind of there as another set of eyes or another voice. Voice of reason, so to speak. If John Lester can help one of their guys kind of develop a cutter or kind of fine tune that mental like awareness on the mound in big situations where they tend to kind of lose it after one bad pitch. You give up a homer, and now they can't settle back in and kind of control the rest of the game. If he can help one of their guys do that, and that guy becomes a star for their team, it's more than worth it. And most of those guys that come back, you don't have to really pay them much. It's like buy them a flight and put them in a hotel, and that's it. So, highly recommend these teams to pick a handful of guys, former players that they respect and trust, to be around their young players and kind of instill high quality information on them. I recommend they bring them back. And a lot of teams do. I'm not saying like, they don't, but I just like to see more of it.
Yeah. Now, there should be an official position on all coaching staffs, former player. Had to play for the team for at least like 5 years. I'm just trying to think of like, how do you mandate it? So there's one guy in a dugout. It's like a Greg Maddux type. It's like it's Travis Wood, maybe having a couple cold ones after the game. Like a new coaching position here with no in-game strategy required, just there to hang out with the guys, keep things. I feel like Mike Napoli has like made that his career.
He's kind of climbing the ranks. He's first base coach, or he was quality control coach, which wears many hats. He's there to help guys with routines and stuff in the cage, and just be, like I said, a guy who has as much experience as he does, playing at a very high level for a long time. And like guys like that, like if say a rookie walks in, it's like, oh shit, there's Mike Napoli, or fill in the blank. Like I'm going to use that guy as a resource. I don't know if he aspires to be a manager one day or, bench coach, but it seems like he's well on his way, to becoming, a guy like that. And I love to see it. It is a tremendous time commitment. So, you got to know what you're getting into. So if you plan to be on a full-time staff and you were a player, like just, remember how long you were at the field as a player and then add a couple hours to that.
I'm trying to think if there's starting pitchers that have turned into good managers. I don't know, because you guys are off on your own for 4 days and you got to come back in and be the fucking alpha male for a day and then go back into the shadows for 4 days and fuck around.
Yeah, I guess it's more of like a pitching coach, more of a pitching coach role. That's a good question. I don't, off the top of my head, I can't really think of any.
What does that say about position players' respect for pitchers? I know those fuckers never respected us.
No, I don't think it's that. Just maybe. Well, it's like why you see so many catchers that turn into great managers. David Ross is on his way, or he's already considered, I'm sure, by a lot as a great manager. He's, especially in the dugout when he is catching, he's there next to the bench coach and the manager and the hitting coach, and they're talking about everything, talking to the pitching coach. So it's all the conversations David would have in between innings with all the staff. Like it's just information, just nonstop in the prep, the video work, the early work, in the vision of the field. I think that's one of the most important things. Like, you're sitting behind the plate, like you're seeing everything. You know where every defender is placed. When, let's say, give me a hitter. Let's say like Andrew McCutchen, whatever. He comes up to the plate. You know where every infielder, outfielder is going to be. And then, Joey Votto comes up, and you just know. You know where everything is supposed to be placed on the field. The repertoire of every single pitcher on the staff. And it's your job to help command that. So the most responsibility on the field is in the catcher's hands. And I think it's an easy transition for them to become manager, because they're so heavily involved in the game as a player. It just kind of goes hand in hand with what the responsibilities are as a manager.
It's such an important part of catching is being a good leader, which is more than any other position, where it's very much put on a pedestal, and for good reason. But it's one of those subjective things. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Well, you know what? You know it when you see it. That's it. I don't know how else to define leadership. You know it when you see it. Interesting enough, I do have kind of a theory. I think most player coaches are like outfielders. So like the cool guys, like the fucking, Tito Francona is like a first baseman outfielder. Dusty Baker, just kind of like the cool, like, yeah, I get it. Trust me, dude. I was an all-star. I hit 300. I know what it's like. Then you have got like the minor leaguers that never made it past AA, but are just fundamental and mean and like in your shit. And I feel like that's kind of a dying breed. But, like, that's certainly a thing in professional baseball. It's like, listen, I fucking coach because I couldn't get past this level. And if I could, I'd be in your spot tomorrow.
Yeah, and sometimes the best players don't translate into great coaches. It's like the game came maybe a little more easy for them. So it just, like, the focus didn't have to be as high on working on the fundamentals. It's like the fundamentals are built into this player, and I'm not saying that the best players, the highly skilled players didn't have to work, because they did. But like you're mentioning about how a AA guy who was a grinder, who bounced around from system to system and played 8 to 10 years in the big leagues or in the minor leagues, like those guys probably doing early work every single day, like know how to execute the fundamentals. Their skill set wasn't quite high enough to produce consistently at higher levels. But like you mentioned, they know the game as good or better than anybody else.
Hey, speaking of the game, you guys go check out some games this year using Game Time, the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. If you haven't given Game Time a shot yet, I don't know what you guys are waiting for. We've had tons of Barstool fans using it, hitting us up on social, telling us about all the great deals they're getting. I've been using Game Time all year. Told you guys, use Game Time to get my buddy, local bartender Mike, out to the AEW wrestling event. I'm using Game Time again this weekend for Bears-Packers. I have to go make sure Aaron Rodgers, it's an Aaron Rodgers funeral party at Soldier Field this Sunday. I'll be there with a couple of buddies, tailgating, hanging out, having cold ones, getting ready to say goodbye to Aaron Rodgers. You guys can join me. All you have to do is use Game Time. It's easy to use, amazing deals, and it's the fastest-growing ticketing app in the U.S. You guys are going to love it. Download the Game Time app, go to the account tab to create a login, and redeem code STARTED9 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download Game Time, last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. G word. We're throwing G's around.
Love a good guarantee, don't we?
I guarantee you, Matt Mervis.
Is he ready for us?
I think he's going to come on the show in a little bit, but I'm going to make a guarantee for this young man comes on here that I'm going to guarantee he hits a home run in the big leagues in the month of April 2023.
Yeah. Well, look, the Cubs had one of the lowest amount of production in all the game. I mean, they're looking for significantly more slug at the position, more consistent play at the position. And just judging by what he's done over the past couple of years, I mean, he hits for average, and I was looking at his power numbers in college at Duke, and he's obviously done something in that department, with his swing or his approach to produce, a lot more homers. And I'm looking forward to asking him kind of what that transition or what that adjustment was like, because the numbers are really, really good.
Oh, yeah. It's very reminiscent of our Charlie Blackmon conversation where you're sitting there going, wait, what a second. You were in the bullpen your junior year of college? Like, I think he's one of those, like, yeah, he was starting Wednesdays and Thursdays against, East Carolina, the Tuesday night game or something when you're getting your midweek stuff figured out. I'd be interested. We should give him some life advice on the north side of Chicago. Between the two of us, we got like 20 combined years hanging around this part of town. I'm sure there's something we can offer up this kid. Hey, stay away from boo.
I mean, just use your head, though, It's pretty easy. If it looks sketchy, you probably shouldn't be there.
While we wait for Matt to join us, just a couple other things, I suppose, off the top of my head. With the Cubs, little Cubs roundtable here, can I ask you a question? Now that they have the shift, they've got rid of the shift. They're saying Nick Madrigal is a more effective second baseman relative to when he was with the shift because he can cover more ground. He's got good range, that type of stuff. With the Cubs and Nico Horner at shortstop, I was like, hey, why don't you move Nico Horner to second base? Go get one of these primetime shortstops. And then on the third base side, you have Patrick Wisdom, who's set to make about $1 million and is by all means a productive. Looks like he could be a very productive player in 2023 for the Cubs at that, especially at like $1 million. So I guess little infield talk for the Cubs at second, shortstop, and third here. Is it worth going out and dropping $250 million on a shortstop if then you're going to have like a log jam? And I'm not saying improving shortstop. I'm saying spend a fuck ton of money on that position when you're going to create other problems at second base. What do you think about that?
Well, maybe you end up, getting rid of one of those guys. I think I could see the Cubs going after Carlos Correa. I just think in order to sign a player like that, you're going to have to convince him that you guys are moving in the direction to build a championship team, because he wants to, coming from Houston and, going to Minnesota for a year. I mean, they were competitive. They had the division for a little while. I mean, he's not going to want to go to a team who's going to finish, third in the division. He wants to win. And I think that's up to the Cubs to show that's the direction they're headed. Whether it's, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts, I think the most likely option is probably Carlos Correa. And I would love to see that signing. But it does create some issue there in the middle infield. But if you have to trade a guy and you have to move a guy, from shortstop to second base. I mean, you do that in order to get Carlos Correa for, 6, 8, however many years it's going to be. And they might not win next year, but if you can convince him enough that, hey, it's going to take us a year or two to get there, but that's the path that we're taking.
We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah.
It's a good path. It's a path they should take. Speaking of that path, we're now joined by Matt Mervis from the interview portion of today's show. All right, we're in the interview portion of today's show. We are joined by Cubs. Can we even call you a rookie? I think you're still a minor leaguer, Matt Mervis. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Not a rookie yet. Got to get there first.
Yeah, but by all estimation, the way people are talking to you, how are things going? Your story has caught a lot of people's attention this winter.
Everything's going well. Feels good to finally get off my feet, get back home. Thanksgiving was a nice reset, and then just trying to get ready for next year.
We talked a little bit before you jumped on with us that you just got back in the gym today, and around the holidays, it's tough to kind of get that back going. So, and it seems like you're an early guy. You wake up early, you get your training in. What's a typical day once you start your program? What is a day like throughout training look like for you? And have you started like your specific baseball activity, like your hitting stuff yet, or are you just working out?
I haven't started any baseball stuff yet. Taking a good amount of time away from hitting and throwing, just trying to let my body reset from the long season. Right now, I'm just waking up early, probably around 9:30, get some breakfast in, and then go to the gym. Right now it's more about easing back into the weight room stuff and, focusing on mobility and movement rather than hitting the weights heavy right away. So, like you said, today was just about getting back into it and, getting my body loose from sitting down pretty much for the last 2 weeks.
Now, do you have a group that you work out with? Do you have like a performance center where you guys have kind of structured times? Like there's all these different academies and training facilities that one that I went to for a while in Houston, they had like the minor league guys would go at like 9:30, the big league guys would go at 10:30. They train, they do their throwing all together. Or do you have a couple buddies you train with, or how does that work out for you?
I'm on my own for the most part. Not a ton of baseball players in this area, so once I start hitting, there will be a little bit bigger group that I work with my hitting coach. But working out, there's a facility that's run by some guys that used to play baseball with my brother. So I just go in there. They gave me the code to the door, so I can kind of bop in whenever, and then just get my work done on my own. and come back to the house for the rest of the day.
All right, I like
The
that.
code on the door stuff's great. Like the code, the code on the door is like when you're getting a code on the door, you're an all-time grinder thing. That's like a great Jason Kipnis story of he was in community college and he got kicked out of Eastern. He was trying to find the nice next spot, and then when he got to Arizona State, it was like a joke that he got down to Arizona State. And Pat Murphy, after like the first week, was like, "Hey, I can tell you're a code on the door kid. So here's the code on the door, and like just come and go whenever." But not everybody gets a code on the door because it comes with responsibility. You got to lock up. You got to put the shit away. I have a guy for you. Vinny Pasquantino's around there. He was on the show last week. I think he's in that neighborhood. We'll connect you guys. You guys can work on some shit. But higher level, man. Let's familiarize people with the story. We've compared your like path to why we're in this conversation to like Charlie Blackmon. You were a pitcher, and if I understand this correctly, you were a pitcher, and you were like, I'm probably a much better hitter, not that good at pitching. I want to try hitting. We need some help at hitting, and things kind of accelerated from there. How are we in this moment right now?
I was actually a two-way going into college. So I was always a hitter in high school, and got at bats, few, but I got a couple at bats. I think probably 10 through my sophomore year of college. But um, yeah, I've always known I'm a hitter. I pitched because I threw hard, but I never really had good mechanics. I never had good secondary stuff. So um, I pitched to get on the field really. And then once I got the opportunity to hit, um, well, it started in summer baseball in college. So after my sophomore year, I got a bunch of at bats in the Northwoods League, and I came back and still didn't start my junior year. Um, and that took an injury in the lineup for me to get in there. And then once I started hitting, um, I hit well, and I didn't really stop until the end of the season. Didn't get drafted, and then went to Cape Cod and did both, but hit really, really well there. So um, it took some time for me to get the at bats that I needed, but once I did, I haven't stopped hitting since then.
So was the decision for you to just become a purely a position player, was that something that happened while you were still in college, or was that after you had signed professionally?
It was pretty much the free agent period that decided it. I had the opportunity to go out as a two-way with a couple teams. Some wanted me to just pitch, and I just wanted to hit. So um, the Cubs were one of the teams that gave me the opportunity to focus on hitting, which is what I've always wanted to do, and um, I thought they were the best fit for me, so that's where I went.
Is hitting hard?
Hitting is hard, no matter what,
Okay.
whether you're doing well or you're not. Hitting is always hard.
Well, you were like, well, I'm going to start worrying. Ever since you started just hitting, all you've done is hit. So that's why, like, can you say it's hard when you haven't really struggled that much?
Yeah, I mean, I had a pretty bad year in 2021. My numbers were not good. I didn't feel comfortable, and I think it was a big adjustment into professional baseball. So that's when hitting was really hard in 21. But um, I think it just took some time to adapt and get used to it.
Now, tell people a little bit about like when you gave up, pitching. How did that, obviously the added time to focus on hitting in other ways? Did you benefit from just being able to kind of work on that and then kind of get away from it for a while? Because when you're doing both, it's like that's all you're doing all the time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think mentally it was a huge relief for me to only have to focus on one thing. Um, in college, I would take a round of batting practice and then go throw a bullpen during rounds two and three, and then come back for round four and take some ground balls. So it was just constant, high energy, high focus. Um, it was a long work day, and so now that I'm only hitting, I can take my rounds of batting practice, get my defense in, and then go kind of chill in the outfield for a little bit and help Shag and kind of reset. So um, it's not always a high energy, high pressure thing. Now that I have only one job, but I only have to focus on hitting. It's a little bit less stressful, a little bit easier to find breaks throughout the day.
For me, pitching became a little bit easier when I had to hit in the National League. When I would step in the box and I understood when a guy throws me a fastball down and away, it looks like it's 6 feet off the plate. And just taking pressure off myself and figuring out how to locate certain things Did that help you being a pitcher and then kind of becoming a full-time hitter? Did you ever imagine like facing yourself and like kind of asking yourself what I would do to get myself out at the plate? And has that kind of helped you become a little bit better hitter?
I definitely thought about that in college when I was still doing both. Um, and now I think it helps me a lot with understanding what pitching coaches and catchers are trying to do to get me out. So my freshman year, pitching coach at school is now the big league coach with the Twins. My sophomore and junior year is now the big league coach with the Cardinals. So in fall baseball, when we were scrimmaging, doing inter squads, I was getting top end pitch sequences from those guys just because they were so good at what they did. Um, so I think that really gave me an advantage understanding how the best pitching coaches' minds work and how game plans work. And obviously, I worked with him as a pitcher to try to get hitters out. And we had a couple guys like myself, like Griffin Conine, Michael Rothenberg, big, strong left-handed hitters that can drive the ball. So kind of understanding how we pitched against them, and now that's how teams are trying to get me out. So um, there's that. I think definitely the pitching background helps understand what's going on beyond just here's what a guy throws in a certain count.
Right.
Hey, you bring up Conine's name, give him my best. We had a good night out on Duke's campus a couple of years ago. I'm sure you heard that story. I saw the picture you sent me. That's true, Jake. I was partying with the Duke baseball. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. Were you a freshman? I can't remember.
I was a freshman. Yeah, I didn't. I was kind of a loser back then. I wasn't out that night.
I was supposed to go back to the baseball house. I want to say Duke basketball played Maine, and they won by like 38. I have uncles that went to Duke, so I was out on campus. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Duke. Have you talked to Marcus Stroman at all now that it's out? You're going to big league camp, right?
Not
Hell
announced.
Sorry,
yeah, I mean, he better be going to big league camp.
It's not announced, but like you did just smash a bunch of records for the AFL and did a bunch of shit. So like, have you talked to Marcus at all about like I'll see you in Scottsdale?
I haven't. I actually don't think I've met him at all. I think he came back and talked to us at the preseason banquet my sophomore year, but other than that, I haven't had any interaction with him.
Well, let's put it out there. Then we'd like to get you guys. I mean, at least I'd like to get you guys together. A couple of Blue Devils going in the season. Did I also see you changed agents?
I did. Yeah, I made the switch to CAA recently.
Now, what's the basis with that? We've talked to Scott Boris before. He's a good agent. You didn't go to him. You went to CAA. Why?
I interviewed a bunch of people, and mostly in the fall league, and that's just who I felt comfortable with. Obviously, they're a big agency. They've done a great job recently and in the past, and um, I felt like what they were doing analytics wise and from a business perspective is something that they can really help me.
Now, is that a switch you made just because you can kind of sense that you're getting close to the big leagues, and you felt like you needed a little bit more guidance and maybe a little bit more experience from a company? And I don't know who you had before, and I'm sure they're a fine agent, but did you want someone just with a little more track record, like kind of as you kind of near your big league career?
Yeah, I think that's exactly why. I've kind of not been on my own in the sense that my parents and other people haven't helped me, but we don't, as a family, we don't know anybody that's really gone through this process besides my hitting coach who did it a while ago. So times have changed. Um, but even like college recruiting and into professional baseball and now getting close to the big leagues, hopefully, I have no connection to talk to about this stuff. So just going with the company that has a lot of experience, a lot of firepower, um, a ton of other guys in my situation is the main reason.
No, I'm curious if you've got relationships with the other guys because the Cubs minor league system now, people talk about, the bright future, and they're starting to put you guys on the YouTube page, and they're doing all this like promotional stuff. Personally, I've never seen before. I haven't seen the organization like lean into the young guys like this before. So are you guys having like fluid conversations about like, hey, this is the next wave? Like, put me in the shoes of Matt Mervis. This has not played a fucking game at Wrigley Field, and people are like very excited to see you come up. Now, is that something you share with the other guys in the organization, or are you on an island right now being like, I just need to get to the big leagues and do my thing?
No, we're all talking about it together. We had a big group at Wrigley for the last home series against the Reds, and there was guys from, I mean, I'm almost 25 down to 19-year-olds, I think, and it's just a big group of guys that the Cubs, I think, really like and that are hopefully going to impact the team coming up. So, um, yeah, it's definitely something we talk about, and hopefully being the next wave, the next core, like the guys in 2016. So, um, I was talking to Pete Crow Armstrong earlier today. I talked to Brennan Davis a bunch, Ryan Jensen a bunch. So, um, and Darius Hill, who had a fantastic season, Double A, Triple A. So, yeah, it's definitely something we talk about, and I think we're a pretty close group.
All right, now be honest. You performed extremely well last year, and you're not 18 years old. There could have been a good chance that you potentially got called up last year. Was there any disappointment there, or did you kind of just say, "Hey, it is what it is. I'll get my opportunity in the future"? And if you thought about it a lot, was it like on a daily basis? Like, hey, am I going to get the call today? Like, if it's not today, when's it going to happen?
I let myself be disappointed for about 3 days. Um, I didn't let it distract me really. But if I if I had a good game, I would kind of think to myself like, all right, uh, now's the time. I mean, it was. I'll be honest. It was during the Toronto series where I could have been called up because of the whatever the COVID rules are. It wouldn't have taken up a 40-man spot. So that's when I was hoping um, I would get an opportunity. But after that, I wasn't Rule 5 eligible this year. They didn't have to put me on the 40-man roster. Um, and so I kind of just said, you know what, the front office is going to do what's best for the organization, and all I can do is just keep playing and keep hitting. So um, I woke up every day and just tried to take it day by day and have a good game. And if I got called up, then hell yeah, we'll celebrate. But um, there's nothing I could do to influence that besides playing well.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned that you allowed yourself to be disappointed for a few days because it's natural. I mean, there was in 2010 before I got called up. I'm sitting in AAA with like a 1 ERA. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why aren't they calling me up? What's going on? But allowing that just to be short lived. Kind of getting pissed off a little bit, and then flushing it, showing up the next day, and if it happens, it happens. If not, then we'll keep performing, and that's really the only thing you can do, man.
Right. Yeah. I started in high A. I had very low expectations, I think, from people coming into the year, especially after playing pretty bad last year. So I think just keeping it day by day really helped me this year. And obviously, I have no control over what happens in the end. So um, just woke up and tried to hit every day.
What are the Cubs doing right now to like help you in the offseason? Do they have communication? Do you have to check in with anybody?
It's mostly, well, I'm not hitting right now, so I don't talk to the hitting department, at least not yet. But um, the athletic trainers are calling, checking in, making sure guys are still healthy and on a good program. And then the strength coaches have been doing a good job of. I had a program laid out for me before the off season even started, and I'm sure as I get into that, they'll be in contact, just making sure things are going well.
But then Jake, like from your perspective, like say you're coming into this Cubs clubhouse and you've got 10, 12 years under your belt, like do you have a different relationship then with the team where you're like the athletic trainer's giving you a program, you're like I got the program, buddy? Like what would that relationship be, or what are the similarities or differences of what he's saying here?
Oh, the exact same thing. So the strength coach, the trainers, they reach out. They'll ask you like where you're at in your throwing program if you indeed have started. I'm sure that Matt has a like a database or a login for his workout routines. I always kind of had my own workout routine, but it was very similar to kind of what the team would want you to get accomplished. Just making sure that you're doing your mobility, you're doing your like heavy training days mixed in with a recovery day. And so on and so forth. And that kind of stuff changes as you get into your throwing and Matt gets into his baseball activity. But, there are a lot of guys that don't really have a good feel for, their training and exactly, what they need to be doing. And I think most people would expect, professional athletes to know exactly what they do when they walk in the gym, but it's not much different from, from people in everyday life. Like you walk into a gym, it can be intimidating. So it is nice that the organizations have, structured workout routines for you to follow in case you don't necessarily know what you need to get done.
But before we get some good advice from Jake, let me give you guys some good advice. Beard Guys offers a comprehensive collection of beard care products for all types of facial hair and skin types. Cleanse, enhance, moisturize, and style. They deliver high-quality, badass beard care with irresistible beard scents and styles. That's no joke about the scents. That's no joke about the style. You wear Beard Guys stuff on your face, and you feel good about yourself. And it starts with the beard wash and the Tame. It's a 2-in-1 wash conditioner for beard hair. Throw that baby in the shower, put it by the sink. Just get that nice and clean, cleanse, nourish your beard hair with argan oil, vitamin E, and olive oil. Then we're going to go to a balm. We're going to tame that facial hair while keeping it soft and smooth. We're going to keep it conditioned. Then we're going to load up some oil. It's a 3-step process, guys. Jump on board with Beard Guys. Obviously, we've got a lot of great facial hair on this podcast, and it's because we use Beard Guys. They're our partner when it comes to beards, and you guys should absolutely be checking them out. Craft your beard care routine today at Beard Guys. That's Beard Guys with a Z.com, Beard Guys. Take care of those beards, guys, and pretty soon, she's going to be judging you on the quality of your facial hair, and we want to improve that facial hair. You guys can do it at beardguys.com. Take care of that mane. Let's get back to the interview. Matt, this is a great opportunity here. Like, do you have any advice you'd ask for Jake, somebody who won a World Series with the Cubs? Are you kidding me?
Don't ask me how to hit.
I saw the Silver Slugger in 16.
Well, it's kind of like, hey, listen.
Hey, welcome to the show, friend
All
of the
right.
program. You're welcome here anytime you want.
It's kind of like being the tallest midget, though. Being the best hitting pitcher. It's a cool award. I'm glad I got the silver bat. It's probably my favorite award that I have. And hey, I hit 267 or something that year. I hit some homers, so that was nice. But I'll defer the hitting to you because I've seen your numbers. They're pretty impressive.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, I'd love to know about Chicago and just kind of advice when you first get to the big leagues and how to handle yourself.
Yeah, well, going off of what, Rizzo and a lot of the other position players say, they say, it's impossible to hit in April in Chicago. They're always crying about how the wind just constantly blows in, which it does a lot. And I absolutely loved pitching there in April. But they were really good about, like, kind of we talked about with whether you were going to get called up or not at the end of the season. Like they get pissed off, and then you got to come out your next at bat and deal with it. I think that a lot of times guys would adjust their swing in April and sometimes in May because of the wind. And I learned from them that that's not the appropriate way to handle that. But really, there's not a park in the big leagues that plays so differently, whether the wind blows in or blows out, in all of the big leagues. So don't let that frustrate you, because if it does, man, it's very, very frustrating. And just know that the other team has to hit in it too. So April sucks to hit, but as soon as it warms up, man, the ball flies. You'll be hitting the balls, off the frickin' party decks on the other side of Waveland. And I hope you like good food, man, because there's no shortage of spots to go eat there.
I've heard the best food in the country is in Chicago, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and Carl would probably second that, and he might have a longer list of places to tell you to go than I do.
Oh man, I got a whole list for my buddies that make it to the big leagues in Chicago that need like a fucking tune up around town. What about day baseball, Matt? You play a lot of day baseball?
We played plenty of day games this year. I think in Iowa we were playing twice a week during the day, so I like it. Get in, get the game done, and go get a good meal somewhere.
Yeah, no better city to play day baseball than Chicago, because everywhere else, you're playing at 7:00 every night, and you don't get to go out to dinner. You don't get to go out with your girlfriend, your wife, your fiance, whatever. But Chicago's different, man. You get those day games, and especially if you get multiple day games back to back, you get to go out to dinner with the teams. You can go out on the lake, walk around downtown. I mean, it's the easiest city to enjoy because you get more access to it. So you're gonna love that, man. Absolutely. Are you married? Single?
I'm not. No, I have a girlfriend. Actually met her during the season in Tennessee, so we've been going for a few months now.
Nice, nice.
But not long enough to talk seriously about it, and I won't do that to you, and I'm not going to put you in that position. But good for you. I feel like risky area if I'm a GM or somebody in charge, so to say, and we got a bunch of single guys running around just like smash it up. Come on, guys, clean up a little bit. We got games to win. I'm being serious because like I don't want to see somebody out at the ball. I hated when I'd be out and I'd be like, "That fucking come on, man, we're playing tomorrow." Not to be a hard ass, but it'd be like, "Come on, dude." I guess that is kind of a hard ass fucking.
Carl's a fun police.
Oh man.
Hey, you got to be responsible. Nothing wrong with going out. Just you got to take care of yourself. You know? Hey, and it's good to be in a relationship. If I wasn't in a relationship in the big leagues, you'd have found me in a ditch somewhere. So I was well taken care of. Brittany, she's my accountability partner, my babysitter, and I'm thankful to have her.
Matt, do you have any strong words about our commissioner?
No, I do not.
Good.
Good answer.
Staying away from that one.
That's a very good answer, Matt. Okay, be honest with us. A couple of things here on my goals. Be honest. Tell me your goals right now. What are the goals for the season? I want them.
I want to make the team. It's been thrown around that I have a chance to make the team out of spring training. But that's all speculation from the media. So I want to get in there and play well right away, hopefully earn a spot. And then after that, I don't set number goals. I didn't come into the year trying to hit a certain amount of home runs or have a certain batting average. I just want to play well every day. I'm hard on myself. I have high expectations, so that's enough motivation for me. I don't set number goals, but yeah, just make the team and help us win.
Can you give me some self-talk real quick? You're in the batter's box, 1-0. Like, what's that? Are you like more with yourself, or are you like, all right, let's fucking go, Matt? Or what's that self-talk sound like?
You kind of just said it. Especially if I miss a fastball in the zone, I step out a little bit, kind of, light myself up a little bit, and then I like the pitch clock actually because it doesn't give me enough time to do that and get in a rut. But you kind of have time to say one thing to yourself and refocus, get back in there.
Do you have a great piece of hitting advice that you got somewhere along the way that's kind of stuck with you, whether it was in high school or any point along your path? Is there something that might seem, mundane or not very extraordinary, but for you it really works and has kind of helped you get to where you are now?
For me, I need to use my hips. I get stuck in the ground a little bit when I get away from that and get less explosive. So in 2019, I played for Mike Roberts in Cape Cod, who used to be a coach with the Cubs. So he would watch, Rizzo and Schwarber up close in person, and kind of told me that they don't have huge, forceful swings. It looks easy for both of those guys. So, just get your hips through and let the bat handle itself.
Do you know who Chubbs Peterson is?
I do not.
Jake, do you mind?
It's all in the hips. Let's go.
It's all in the hips, baby. Happy Gilmore, you're too young to
No,
know.
I didn't know Chubb's last name.
young.
I know Chubb.
Yeah, it's on a first name basis. That's fair. Well, I like that. I like that. It is on the hips, and I get stuck in the ground playing golf. So maybe I got to translate that into golf. Are you a golfer?
I'm a terrible golfer. I golf probably 3-4 times a year. I'm not a pitcher. I can't go out there and just work on my swing because it'll throw me off in the batter's box. So,
Okay, so you feel like golf does interfere with your baseball swing?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Okay.
If I try to fix the slice, then I start doing something else mechanically, and it translates over to the baseball swing. I get a little out of whack. So no golf for me during the season.
All right, there you have it. That makes sense. Yeah, because nobody will play, and I think it's maybe because it'll mess with the swing a little bit, but also like if you get a day off or whatever, you probably don't want to be out walking around swinging a golf club. So I get it.
Yeah, we had a ton of position players play this year, and it didn't seem to affect them baseball wise, but not for me. On Mondays, our off day, I laid down, let the body rest.
Yeah, lay the body down. Yeah, I like that.
See, do you ground? It's important.
Do I what?
Do you ground? You take your shoes off. You fucking get on the ground. You Tristan Cassis, like Jay. You
connecting with the earth. Yes, I love doing it. I would go out early before the games, go barefoot, and just walk around the field. But I'm weird, man. That's just it's kind of one of the things I do.
We had a few guys do that. I did not. I like working out without my shoes on.
Yes,
but I'm not attached to the earth.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Now, there are other people that have come on the show that are attached to. Okay. Horticulturists, I would say. Horticulture enthusiasts, something like that. No, honestly, dude, it's great to get you at this spot in your career because just the way baseball culture is. Everyone's going to be so excited to be talking about you and following you in spring training, all this stuff. But there's this element where, like, hey, man, you haven't done anything yet, right? Like, in your eyes, in my eyes, I would imagine the people that are close to it are, like, very, very excited for you. But you're the only one who can deal with all these expectations. So I want to thank you for coming on and spending time with us. But just – how are we doing upstairs? Can I get, like, mentally you're okay? A lot of people are going to be
fucking – He looks great.
Like, Matt Mervis, this and that. You doing okay?
Everyone's muted on Twitter. Getting that out of my head during the off season, and it'll probably stay that way going into the regular season. But yeah, I'm good. I mean, like I said, just try to wake up and during the season try to have a good game. In the off season, just try to be productive and get myself ready. It's definitely weird doing all these podcasts and interviews and stuff when, like you said, I haven't done anything. Still in the minor leagues. I haven't debuted. I haven't done anything in the big leagues. So, yeah, it's definitely strange, but try not to think about it and just focus on having a good year next year.
Well, you've put yourself in a really nice position. You've had your success. We know you're going to continue to have success, but I think this is going to be the most exciting year of your career. I mean, you're on the brink of breaking into the big leagues with a historic franchise. One that I know very well, and look forward to following you and doing this again. After you are indeed a Cub in the big league uniform. So, thanks for spending some time with us, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was fun.
And sincerely tell your dad I said hello when you guys are in Chicago. We would love to come by and drop off a 6-pack of Miller Lite for the family or something, or we'll definitely figure something out in the future. But Matt, yeah, thanks for your time, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matt. And that's Matt Mervis, hopefully first baseman of the future for the Chicago Cubs. Awkward, nervous, uncomfortable situation, I would imagine, being a minor leaguer in this situation where people want so much from you so soon. Like when you were coming up with Baltimore, at least you were a starting pitcher, but those were teams when they're like Machado, like, hey, let's get it going here, pal.
Well, he's got to feel good about where he's at. And the Cubs have to feel good about, having him as a guy who could potentially walk into that role and be ready to perform. I mean, it's unlikely that I'd say that he's basically going to be the starting first baseman at the start of the year and all throughout the year. I'm assuming that they're probably going to sign somebody that can start the season as their first baseman. I don't know. I could be wrong. I hope that he goes into camp and makes the decision easy for him, and he is their guy. But I mean, looking at his numbers and to be able to hit like that consistently for power and average and be able to drive in runs, a consistent RBI producer. That's what teams are looking for, and that's exactly what you need at a position like first base.
Yeah, first base is a position that, this offseason people are looking at Anthony. It's like, well, we got to upgrade first base. Well, who are our guys? You don't throw flyers over around first base. First base is a position you go into at the start of the year. I'm not calling it an easy position to fill, but if you're a front office solving problems, like first base is very low on the list. You need a bat, and you need somebody who can handle the bag. And you're willing to take huge compromises if they can really handle a bat. And especially now at the DH, like there's so much more flexibility around there to fill that position. So my point is this: to be a rookie young first baseman, more than other positions, I think it's the hardest. I think that's the hardest position for a young guy to earn.
Yeah,
think about it, because a lot of times it's like, here's the young shortstop, here's the young second baseman, here's the young center fielder, and then they graduate to left field after a couple of years. Or
I don't know if it's the hardest. What about the catching position? That's you look at what Adley Rutschman did as he came up, and I think a big part of that is his ease to like kind of assimilate to that level is just kind of, he seems like a very high character guy. Just from hearing him talk, I've never talked to him in person or even in an interview, but that character goes a long way. And seems like Mervis has a really good head on his shoulders. He knows what he's capable of. He's been through adversity, and that's a big part of it. So it's a difficult position just to walk into and be the everyday guy. There's a lot of responsibility there. But I mean, let's be honest. None of them are easy just to kind of be plugged in and perform at a high level right away.
I just feel like once you get a first baseman, it's like, all right, good. He's there for
That's your guy.
12 years. Like Goldschmidt has been a first baseman. He'll have an 18-year career. I just go down the line. You think of like notable, solid first baseman. Great example, Eric Hosmer. Eric Hosmer came up as a rookie prospect, came up as like a top first base prospect, and he'll end up playing 15, 16, 17 years in the big leagues. But it's hard to get – to me, it's very hard to get to the point where a team's like, all right, young guy, unproven, boom, you go play first base. But to your point, too, catching – the nice thing about the catchers is that you have the baked in like – one, this is our starting catcher and the backup catcher, but the backup catcher plays a lot. And oftentimes the backup catcher is either the old guy and the starter's young, or the starter's old and the backup's the young guy, and there's some kind of mentorship. Catchers are fucking weird, dude. Because usually it's like, well, my dad has a catching equipment, that's why I catch. And then at like some point you're just like, nah, I got it. I can block the balls. I like throwing kids out. And that position only gets weirder as you get older.
Well, you know what? Eliminating the shift is going to be something that's a big positive for Mervis also. As he gets into the league, not having to deal with the disappointment of, having all those hits taken away. I haven't seen him hit very, very much, but that should be a slight boost in his confidence. Knowing that he, he's going to be one of the beneficiaries of, the shift being eliminated.
We talked to Vinny Pasquantino last week too. So I'm like acting all surprised about young first baseman. Hey, dipshit. We literally just talked to a young first baseman from the Kansas City Royals. We got to go see him too. The Bears played the Jets this weekend. The Bears got crushed, and he was just chirping me. Just my phone just
you knew that was
hey,
coming.
Nice play, dude. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah. It's kind of disappointing that who's the quarterback that took over for Zach Wilson? Is it Clark?
Mike White.
Way to go, idiot. Not good for my Zach Wilson card value. But
not great,
it's okay.
Bob.
It's okay. What are you gonna do? But good for Pasquantino. Jets are playing well.
Yeah, and then he called into the post game. We're doing a Bears post game. Like, yeah, they got smoked by. Oh, we have a caller here. This is Vinny from. Oh, it's Vinny Pasquantino. What's up? Hey, you fuck. So we like that, very much like that. Good luck to Matt Mervis this offseason. Getting prepared, staying focused. Some other first base talk. There's no news, so I'm going to make a prediction. I think there's going to be in a week from now, there should be some huge news in December. because they are going to get together for the winter meetings. We had the GM meetings right after the season where the GMs get together, and that's where you're going to get these like low level, not, just like lower level. Yeah, we want that starter. You can have this reliever. But now we're going to go to the winter meetings. Owners have had a time to like relax. Well, all the owners do is fucking relax. But, teams have had an opportunity to like put some work together, take some time off. They're going to work this week. Then they're going to go down to the winter meetings and start the strategy and the negotiation process. So I would say by the time we do next week, we have another episode, but next week there should be some major shit. So do you want to do any like predictions? I'll make a prediction. I think Justin Verlander is going to sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Well, I did see that he had a meeting or conversation with the Dodgers. So that could be a nice landing spot for him. Yeah, it's not out of the question. What I think we're going to see before that is, and it might be something that might help indicate this is the signing of Mike Clevenger. I think we're going to see, guys in the 3, 4, 5 slot, like starting rotation type guys. Will probably start to develop, a guy like Noah Syndergaard, Kyle Gibson. Some of these type guys I could see signing deals in the near future, a Wade Miley type. I'm blanking on some of the other guys out there. But I think teams, they're smiling. Who else? Maybe like a Corey Kluber, somebody who could, be reliable, not as a 1 or 2, but maybe a 3 or 4, type of spot to kind of hold that down, give you innings, give you some experience, some veteran leadership. So that's what I envision developing next is probably that mid-tier, middle of the rotation type of starting guy.
Yeah, tons of options out there. There's so much to happen. I've enjoyed the Thanksgiving break of kind of level setting. We've got a couple weeks here with the off season leading into the close of the year. There should be some awesome news. There should be big news. And I hope, like we said before, I hope a lot of teams get involved because you just see with now 12 playoff teams, it's just such a different fucking sport when it's your team and you care and you're like into it and it's August and you're following the stuff. You're looking at the standings. You care what happens in the, some game that's so far removed from you that's weeks before the end of the season. You're sitting up watching like, are the Mariners going to choke away this lead against the Reds? We're far away from those nights, but the coming weeks will very much dictate where these players end up and how that goes. So,
yeah, once teams start to take shape and a lot of these guys sign, you get a clearer picture of what your rotation and what your lineup and your bullpen is going to look like. It's going to get pretty exciting over the next couple of weeks, no doubt about it. It's hard to predict where a lot of these guys are going to sign, but it's going to happen soon. I think. I want to say by Christmas. I think Judge will be signed before Christmas. I could see that happening. I could be wrong. But, everything I've seen.
You're in that business now.
Yeah,
so.
But it looks like everyone's saying that he's going to end up back in New York.
Imagine all those Yankee kids waking up on Christmas morning and Aaron Judge is playing for the San Francisco Giants. All those dads returning Judge jerseys with the name on the back.
I want to say that won't happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
But I know a lot of adult Yankee fans. Like, I don't want to wish ill will on children, but I know a lot of adult Yankee fans, and I would love for them to have had worse childhoods. So it's this weird dynamic I'm in. I also want to give myself a shout-out. I bought a dresser this weekend. It got delivered late Sunday at about 5 p.m., and in the initial assembly stages from IKEA, there's multiple parts. I'm not going to complain about the assembly. I can handle it. I'm a smart guy. I fucking cracked through the wood. So I reach out to customer service to see if they could. Well, you know what? We're doing the best we can.
But it serves its purpose.
Yes. It's a dresser. It's in the closet, pushed away. I've needed a new dresser for a very long time. So I get the dresser, it cracks. I reach out to customer service to see can they just like ship this piece that cracked. I cannot continue building this dresser without this piece. It's broken. They're like, hey, listen, the only way you can get parts like this replaced, you have to go to an IKEA. The closest one's 45 minutes away.
You know what you can do?
I fucking went to IKEA last night.
You went.
I went to IKEA at 6.
Did they have it?
No, they did. They had it, but they were like, it's going to take us 20 minutes to get it, so you can keep yourself busy. So then I walk around, buy a bunch of other shit. No, I'm saying, I mean, give credit to myself. Sat in an hour traffic from Schaumburg to the north side of Chicago. Get home. I built that fucking dresser. I put the clothes in the dresser. I put all the Christmas shit back, all the stuff I was supposed to do during the day. Put it back up in the attic. It's fucking midnight last night, bro. On my Jordan flu game deathbed. And I'm up there fucking hammering the dresser. Texting Sean, my firefighter who lives below me. Hey, Shawnee, I'm sorry, buddy. Didn't text him that. I had my wife text his wife, and who knows if she even sent the text message. But my broader point is this. Tremendous adversity on Sunday night. And I thought to myself, if I just show up and cut the show with you, you're not doing a show with a bitch who can't go to IKEA. And I'm not doing a podcast as a bitch who can't fucking put a dresser together. And this may sound like a passionate rant or a very weird part of my brain right now, but this is a serious thing. I last night was like, I'm not going to be a bitch. I'm going to IKEA. I'm getting this fucking part and I'm building this dresser. And I did it. And the man you're looking at right now is a man of accomplishment and fulfillment.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. And you persevered. You got it done as I would have. You can't start something and not finish it. So good for you. I was going to give you an option like of how to fix that. I was going to ask you what the dimensions are of that piece of wood. And I was going to tell you to go to Home Depot and have them cut the same size piece of wood and then use that. But you, I don't know, that probably would have been a little more difficult than going to IKEA and doing that thing. You know what happened to us 2 days ago? And this is when we had, let's say 12 adults at the house and maybe 15 kids, is the main line water pipe cracked at our house. So we had to shut the water off. And imagine having 15 kids that are eating snacks and ice cream and run all over the house, and they're having to shit. We had to have them shit in the toilet and leave it in there until we got the water back on. And guess what? The water just got turned on this morning. So there's some floaters in all of our toilets. We had to pee. I had to pee outside multiple times, which I do all the time anyways. But there's just stale shits sitting in our toilets. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
From kids. Just floaters.
Yeah, and they were one would just dump on top of the other one. And I'm like, I don't know. Just close the lid and just don't go back in there. So,
and I got the sense walking around your house, I thought maybe 9 bathrooms is too many. No, it was the right amount, right?
We don't have 9. No, we have.
I know, I'm fucking with you. It's a big house.
It's 5.
Okay.
Yeah, not crazy.
Does that include the locker room though?
Okay. 2 kids upstairs. We have the casita 3, ours 4, the gym bathroom 5, and then a half bath, so 6. Okay. 6. Yeah.
5.5.
There's a shit in every one of them.
Multiple.
Yeah. Like sticking out of the water, so it stinks.
Of the 15 kids, do you guys ever give like MVP awards like at the end of the weekend where you're like, hey, fucking Cooper, you were okay this week, but the MVP goes to like Ricky's kid Bobby, Ricky Bobby. Like,
no, we loved having them, but we were glad they all left.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, my brother-in-law got me sick, and I'm reeling, and that's okay. It's that time of the year. I've already been sick this year. I've had 2 head colds, too many. The fogginess. So I'm getting my clarity back. I see the off season in front of me very clearly. And there's going to be some big moves before Christmas. Mute. You are on mute.
You showed up for us as you always do.
Appreciate it.
I mentioned this before the show, but I had a masseuse come over last night. I use him a lot. He's very, very good. He's learning how to do Graston, which is those like little metal like tools that you can use to kind of get pretty deep into like the fascia and the tendons and ligaments. And he was really sick like 4 or 5 days ago. And the guy said, don't worry about it. Come in. Like we're all spread out. And there's 60 people in the class. And he said he got 40 of them got sick. I didn't know he was sick. I opened the front door and he's coughing into his shirt. Like it didn't sound great. He looked okay, but the cough didn't sound good. And he's telling me the story as I'm, on the table, kind of face up, and he's working on my neck. And he's like borderline coughing in my mouth. So I wasn't very happy with that. But I rarely get sick, and as I say that, I'll probably end up, pretty ill today. So I'll keep you updated on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a masseuse coming over to the house. Does Brittany make you get a dude?
No, I like him because he's got strong hands. I don't care.
Yeah, no, I
don't care.
I know
who it
that you're
is.
functionally you want.
Yeah,
you're all about practice.
I'm
man.
not.
You're not about
yeah,
that.
usually my eyes are closed. Like just get in there deep. I need a lot of work in the shoulders, the hamstrings. It doesn't matter if it's a chick, a dude. Are you a good masseuse? That's all I care about.
I hired you to do a job. I expect you to do a job.
That's it. And he's
good
dude. Jerry Curl. His name's Ricardo. He loves
wet Jerry.
He loves it looks wet. I don't know if it's just good shampoo, but he loves Pokemon Go. You know, what are you gonna do? So he said.
Did you see him catching shit around the house?
Sometimes after he leaves the house, he told me he'll go to this park that's not far from the house, and he'll play Pokemon Go at the park. Might seem weird if you see Ricardo in the park. You know, he's not after your kids. He's just looking for Pikachu.
And if you got some fascia issues, a good guy to talk to. So.
Great guy. He may or may not have given me the flu, so I might have to have a conversation with him about that. But otherwise, went well.
Hey, Ricardo, you got a minute, pal? Yeah. Okay, that's it. I went through my notes. I have a little World Cup action going on. We're coming out of Thanksgiving. I know I'm missing some kind of announcement. We had a Black Friday merch, Cyber Monday merch, although it's over. So hopefully you guys bought some stuff. There's something else.
I'm drawing a blank.
There was something else.
What is it? My Jets kicking your Bears' ass?
Colin, you fucking rat little shit. The Bears are Super Bowl contenders next year. They should sit Justin Fields next week against the Packers. Everybody rest, relax. They got twice as much cap space as the next fucking team. Boatload of draft picks, and they're going to be trading out of the top 3. Things are bright here. I am 0-2 in the starting 9 bowl this year, though. I have lost to the Cowboys. I have lost to the Jets. I got my ass kicked by both you guys. So we'll figure something out by the end of the year.
All right. Keep your head up.
Hanging out by a thread here, pal.
Good show, man. Like and subscribe if you enjoy listening with us. Hopefully next show we got some more signing. I want to see some baseball shit out.
Amen. Yeah, I want to see some baseball shit. Give me a shortstop. This is starting 9. We'll see you guys on Thursday.